School board meeting, come anytime that your schedule will allow. Ms. Mickens, you call roll, please.
Mr. Como.
Here.
Ms. May. Here. Mr. Wagner.
Here.
Mr. Hicks.
Here.
Mr. McCoy.
Here.
Mr. Graves.
Here.
Mr. Manley.
Here.
Let's stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance done by Board Member Tommy Como.
Attention. Salute. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ratification be done by Board Member Greg Manley.
Please pray with me. Our gracious Heavenly Father, just how loving and merciful and great God you are, Heavenly Father. We just acknowledge your greatness in this crowd, Heavenly Father, and we know that you're the creator of all heaven and earth, Heavenly Father. Just how awesome a God you are. Just praise and glorify your name. And we thank the opportunity to participate as a board member on this board, Heavenly Father, and we just ask for your wisdom and guidance and knowledge as we make decisions that impact our district and our children, and pray for your wisdom and guidance in that direction, Heavenly Father. Thank you so much for your plan of salvation, and thank you, Jesus, for carrying that plan to the cross. And all we pray in Jesus' precious and holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Manley.
Board, we need approval of the minutes of March 17, 2022.
So move. Second.
Motion second. All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Looking down at the agenda, we need to amend the agenda for item number 9 and item number 4 on the valuation of it, so I need to amend the agenda.
I move that will.
So move.
A second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Now I need approval of the full agenda.
I move we approve the full agenda as presented. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Personnel report.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks. We have a new director of middle schools in Title II, and she will actually be moving over from the interim director of safety and security into this position in July. Congratulations to Miss Jennifer Nichols. Jennifer? We have several principals that will be retiring this summer, and so, Board, I would like to seek permission to open and advertise for the following positions: Principal of West Ouachita High School, Principal of Calhoun Middle School, and Principal of Westridge Middle School. And we also have one other position that we did not fill. We had an instructional coordinator, elementary level, on the instructional team that actually retired about 4 months ago, and we were waiting until school was out to actually ask for that position to be opened also. And so that would be coordinator of elementary curriculum instruction for the instructional team. Okay. So those are the 4 positions that we are seeking to open today.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to open these 4 positions.
I so move.
Second. Got a motion and a second. All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks.
Yes, sir. Moving right down to business, special recognitions, Ms. Eileen Sneed.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks. Is Dr. Packer would join me on the floor? We're excited today to recognize some employees and students. So they're all here. And first, we're going to start with our campus heroes. These 3 employees are from Riser Middle School. We're going to go ahead and call them up, and then we're going to talk about them. Janice Hancock, Joseph Southwell, and Anthony McCrae. You guys come stand up here in the spot of honor here. So many of you know we recently experienced a classroom fire at Riser Middle School. Were it not for the quick thinking and action of these 3 honorees, there could have been much more damage and possibly tragic consequences. So please join me in showing them appreciation.
Let me say this. How long ago was this? About a month ago. We had what could have been a devastating event happen in our school, Riser Middle School. And, you know, oftentimes things go unheard of and unthanked. And so I wanted to recognize these three right here because I fully believe in talking to our fire marshals and investigative team and the whole thing. Had you three not put your plan in action, we would be building another riser middle and elementary possible. And I can't do another one of those.
That's true with the price that comes with that.
About ready, and 3 years ago, that school burned, it was struck by lightning and it burned. This school had actually, one of the buildings had actually caught on fire. This is our man that knows how to get low and creep in there and go. But because of the actions of you notifying and letting everyone know, y'all saved that building, and we are so appreciative and so thankful for the actions that all of you took to make, to keep our kids in our school there. So thank y'all so much. Again, congratulations to them. Dennis, Rosa, and congratulations. Good job.
Okay, our student recognitions we have today are honoring 2 students who earned top recognitions in the George Rodrigu Foundation Scholarship Art Contest. The contest is open to Louisiana high school juniors and seniors who submit original works of art, which are judged on concept and design, technical skill, and creativity. This year's theme was Louisiana's Culinary Heritage. Our first honoree, Abigail Renato. Come on up, Abigail. Abigail placed 3rd in the senior competition for her piece titled Rustin's Sweetest Peach, which you see on the screen. Awesome. She got a $3,000 scholarship, and her teacher is here as well. We'll have you come up, Miss Gilbert. Let's give Abigail a big And our next honoree is also a senior from West Monroe High School, Callan Thornton. Callan placed 1st in the senior competition for her piece entitled Fresher Than Expected. It's on the screen. And she earned a $5,000 scholarship. And her teacher is Philip Payton. Come on up, Mr. Payton.
That's pretty
Let's
good.
give her a round of applause. Congratulations to all of our honorees, and that concludes my recognitions. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Pass item number 1. Mr. Manley, do we have any cards filled out to be on the agenda?
No, we do not.
Okay. Moving right down to number 2. Consider a resolution in support of state pay raises for teachers and support staff. Ms. Avis Williams.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Hi. I'm Avis Williams. I'm with the Louisiana Federation of Teachers and School Employees. I'm here on behalf of all teachers and support staff. As you know, Louisiana is supposed to give a statewide pay raise to our teachers and support staff. Well, we're trying to urge them to push them to give them a little bit more, because I myself was also in the school system for Ouachita Parish, and we would love to see them give them a little bit more. I have a resolution to present to you. Do you all have a copy in your folders? Okay. The resolution reads, Ouachita Parish School Board in support of state pay raises for teachers and support staff. To urge and request the Louisiana Legislature to take all necessary actions in the 2022 regular legislative session to support the passage of a statewide pay raise for Louisiana teachers and school support staff. Whereas pay among Louisiana teachers and school employees remains below the Southern Regional average, the national average, and the average among professionals with similar education levels. Whereas recruiting and retaining a qualified teaching force is integral to the academic success of Louisiana's students and the economic future of the state. And whereas Louisiana is experiencing a teacher shortage in Ouachita Parish school system and vacancies. And whereas increasing teacher pay will help Ouachita Parish school system recruit and retain additional teachers and school support staff. Therefore, be it resolved that Ouachita Parish School Board does hereby urge and request the Louisiana Legislature to take all necessary action in 2022 regular legislative session to pass a statewide pay raise for teachers and support employees to be financed by the state of Louisiana and guaranteed in the minimum foundation program. Be it further resolved that a copy of the resolution be transmitted to the Speaker of the Louisiana House of Representatives, the President of the Louisiana Senate, and each member of the Louisiana delegation. And we just pray and request that you support us in getting the resolution resolved so we can give the teachers and support staff the well-deserved pay raise that they need.
Okay. Board, do we have a motion and a second to support this pay raises for the teachers and the school support staff?
I so move we approve the resolution to support the state pay raise for teachers and support staff.
And I'll second
Presented by
that.
Ms. Williams.
Mm-hmm. Second that.
Got a
Thank you.
motion and a second. Any discussion from the audience? Any cards from?
No cards were turned in.
I'm sorry, any cards from the audience?
But,
None.
Mr. President, we have a
Yeah.
president of the Teachers Union, Miss Sandra Lawley. She may want to just, if you don't mind.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. And it's indeed a pleasure. We know that there is a very difficult shortage, not only here in Ouachita Parish, but in the state of Louisiana. And even though we know that the Bessie Board has given $15,750, with competition coming from the surrounding states like Texas and other places, and we want to maintain a quality of education, not only with our certified personnel, but with our classified personnel. And when you go to the grocery store to buy a loaf of bread or a gallon of milk, it does not say that this line over here is for classified people who make this amount, or this line over here is for teachers who make this amount. They pay the same amount. So even though this is not an exorbitant amount of increase, I appreciate you supporting this effort, and I do hope that in the future we can do better to show, not only talk about that education is a priority, but it is definitely a priority where we're concerned. Thank you. Thank you to the board. Thank you, Mr. McCoy. Thank you. Have a blessed and wonderful day.
Thank you. Any more discussion from the audience? On the board? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item number 3, do we have any cards turned in for item number 3? Mr. Manley?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay, moving right along. Discussion and approval of sublease agreement from Prime Time Incorporated to the Common Health. Mandra Restovich, President of Prime Time, and Katie Purnell, CEO, MC School-Based Health Center.
Thank you.
Thank you. How are you?
Thank you very much.
All right, well, good afternoon. My name is Stelanda Butcher, and I'm the Vice President of Head Start Services for the Louisiana Endowment for the Humanities and Primetime, Inc. My Executive Director, Miranda Restovich, could not be present with you today, but she sends thoughts of gratitude and is very appreciative of all Ouachita Parish School Board has done for Primetime Head Start since our inception in 2016. We have also brought today with us some copies of our magazine that was highly prized, 64 Parishes. We hope that you will enjoy reading it. And we're also very, very proud to be able to share these copies with you today. In addition, we've just shared some building plans with you, and we'll look at those in just a little bit. Today, I have joining me our Primetime Head Start Program Director, Angel Slater. She's our local leader here in West Monroe and Monroe. And I also have with me today the CEO for Community Health, Katie Parnell. Over the past 3 years, Primetime Head Start has been in discussions with Katie and her team at Community Health to explore opportunities for our organizations to join forces and work together in efforts to bring additional access points of quality medical care right here in West Monroe, Louisiana. And together we have been looking at ways for Community Health to co-locate their federally qualified health center inside the cafetorium, the old Ransom Elementary School, where Primetime currently operates Head Start programming. The site is located at 420 Wheeler Street, right down from Bancroft Bag. Since we last presented to you on February 12, 2019, it seems like time truly flies, Community Health and Primetime have both secured the needed funds for the health center project and are now positioned and ready to do all of those facility upgrades. On March 18th of this year, our executive leads also were able to meet with both Dr. Coker and Mr. Elmanoa to discuss subleasing options and a letter of assurance for community health services. Today, we are back seeking reaffirmation from the board so that we can enter into a sublease with Community Health to use the cafetorium for purposes of opening and operating a health center that will provide direct patient care services to our students, families, and staff of Primetime Head Start and to the community at large. We also come to seek a letter of assurance from the board on behalf of Community Health that in the event Primetime Head Start no longer has a Head Start grant and vacates the Ransom site, that Community Health can remain located inside the cafetorium at Ransom. Additionally, as I noted, Katie has already passed out the final building plans for the site. She's given those to you for review and can answer any questions that you have specifically to the site. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present to you today. Are there any questions?
We have a motion and a second to approve this sublease agreement.
I so move.
Second.
Now, got a motion and a second. Any discussion from the audience?
Hasn't been any card turned in on this.
Yeah, the cards. I always do that after this. I thought for the next one.
No cards. If you have any cards, there's been no card turned in for this participation on this particular area.
Okay. Okay.
In the future, our policy has changed with the school board. If you would like to make a comment on a particular agenda item, there's a card outside the door that the lady Eileen Smead stands at.
Okay.
You take a card, you fill your name, address, this card right here, and indicate what topic you would like to address on the board. Then you will be called accordingly to the agenda item that you had requested topic discussion on. Sir, I'm just stating to you our current policy and procedures, and that's what we're going to be following. What was that question, ma'am?
So even after the last meeting with the rebuttal?
Rebuttal on what? Rebuttal on what?
Being able to speak out on any agenda.
Okay, our policy was in effect at the last meeting, effective at the last meeting, and we was adhering to our current policy at the last meeting. And that's how we are proceeding on this meeting today. As I said, in order to address the board on a particular agenda topic, you'll have to fill out this card prior to the meeting indicating what your desires are and what topic you'd like to talk to. Then you will be called to the podium and you can address the board on that particular topic for 3 minutes. This was board-approved policy.
Let me say on the issue that we have at hand, and that is this discussion of our agreement. And what we're doing is we're asking the board to grant permission to allow Primetime to sublease to Community Health. Community Health is a partner in Ouachita Parish. We actually they are running our school health-based clinic at Riser Elementary and Middle, and also at West Monroe High School. And so this it is a great fit for the community that we have in that Ransom area, okay? So what we're saying is Primetime has to reapply every 5 years in order to maintain their status as the pre-K, K 3-year-old program. And so they continue to reapply. The 5 years or 6 years that we've been in a joint cooperation with them, they've done an outstanding job. We have been very pleased with the products that are coming into our schools that have been in their pre-K and 3-year-old program. And so we're just trying. We had the old cafetorium at Ransom that has just been sitting there. And I think at one time y'all were thinking of trying to get it back up and use it either for a feeding site or for something else. And the time has passed very quickly. And in the process, CommuniHealth said, you know, that would be a great community location to put in a school health-based clinic. And so that's what we're asking, or they're asking the board to approve in order to do that. Now, this will also be where the community can come in through the doors. It's going to be secured, where if Primetime is closed or they don't have kids or it's a holiday, CommuniHealth will still be there. It's kind of like a satellite community health place is what it amounts to.
And it's at no cost to
And
the
so
board, is that correct?
It will cost the district nothing. This is all monies that they're doing through their grant monies and through the monies that Katie and them have been able to do through their CommuniHealth.
The only question I've got is, Elmer, if you had an opportunity to look at the sublease agreement, have that been prepared, or you're gonna work with them in preparing it?
They will prepare a sublease agreement between Primetime and CommuniHealth. What we're being asked to do, what the board's being asked to do, is basically sign a letter of assurance or approval of CommuniHealth's right to occupy the space in the event that Primetime would vacate the premises at some point. CommuniHealth could still remain in the old cafetorium and have the community-based health center there. That's all really the board's being asked to do, other than approve the sublease agreement. We haven't seen the sublease, that's just between those two parties, but the board's being asked to approve Primetime's right to sublease to CommuniHealth.
Any more discussion from the board?
So the health center is basically like children can go for wellness visits or
Correct.
any kind of medical?
Or
Oh,
all ages, it's open to the community.
Any more discussion from the board? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes. No? Motion carries. Mr. Manley, we got any cards on number 4, easement agreement with Greater Realness?
No, sir, Mr. Hicks, we don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't even look over there and see him.
Next on the board, Mr. Don Banks, representing the Greater Wilderness Cathedral. We're requesting an easement agreement from Ouachita Parish School Board. I'd like to make one correction. It is Don. I think the agenda says John.
Okay, do we have a motion and a second to approve this easement agreement with Realness Center?
I make a motion to approve this agreement.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no? Motion carries. Mr. Manley, we got any cards on item number 5, comprehensive annual financial report for the year ended June the 30th, 2021?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for this easement agreement?
I think we've already.
We have Margie Williamson with us today to present the comprehensive annual financial report.
She's out of the room.
Huh?
She's out of the room, and she's here.
Okay, Ms. Mikus, you gonna present it?
Margie Williamson is a partner with Allen Green and Williamson.
Okay,
She will present the comprehensive annual financial report that was for the year ended June 30th, 2021.
Okay, you actually have two reports. The comprehensive annual financial report is the larger report, and then the smaller one is the single audit. I'm just going to go over just a few things in each one of those. in the comprehensive annual financial report, if you go to the financial section tab, page 4, and this is the opinion at the top of the page. And it is an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, which is the best opinion that you can get on your financial statements. And it means that the financial statements are fairly stated with no modifications. For the statement of net position, if you go to page 32, under the basic financial statements tab, there's just a couple of things I want to point out on this page. This page actually has one column that includes all the funds of the school board, and it also includes all capital assets and depreciation. It also includes all liabilities. And just a couple of things I wanted to point out. Under the liabilities section, the OPEB liability is $260,940,860. And then the one right under that is the net pension liability, which is $251,359,714. And those are the largest items really on this statement. The OPEB is the other post-employment benefit, and this is actually health insurance. Because when, as you know, when somebody retires, their health insurance continues, and this is the liability for those people who have retired, what it's going to cost in the future. And it also includes for people who are working now, what that liability will be after they retire. The net pension liability is actually the school board share of the liability of the state retirement systems, the teachers' retirement system and the LSERS. And you'll see at the bottom, your total net position is actually a deficit. And the reason for that is that the OPEB and the net pension liability are included. And that is the case with most school districts in Louisiana. They do have a deficit in net position because of those two items. On page 114 and 115, which is under the supplementary information tab, these are special revenue funds. They're funds that are tax funds or grants. And all of these funds are actually restricted for certain activities. And I just wanted to point out that the student activity funds this year is being reported with those funds. In the prior year, the student activity funds were actually agency funds and kind of set off by themselves. But this year, because of a new accounting standard, they're actually included with all other funds. And if you go back to page 36 and 37, this is the balance sheet for all the funds of the school board. They're actually reported by fund. You have the general fund, and then your tax funds, and then the East Ouachita Construction Fund. Those are reported separately, and then all other funds are reported in that non-governmental column. And you'll see the general fund If you look down at the bottom, the total fund balance for the general fund is $23,355,644. And approximately 81% of that is actually unassigned. It's not committed or restricted for anything.
That's
Okay.
effective June the 30th,
June
2021.
30th of 21, yes. Okay, in the single audit report, on page 10 and 11, this is your schedule of expenditures of federal awards. And if you look on page 11, total federal expenditures for the year was almost $30 million. And basically, on page 10, the four largest programs were the child nutrition, Title I, special ed programs, and then the Education Stabilization Fund. And that was new for the 21 year. And for the 21 year, that was actually 5.7 million of the 30 million. On page 13 is a list. In the middle of the page there, it says the major federal programs are. These are actually the programs that we did detailed testing on. We tested compliance requirements for those programs, and that was child nutrition, the Education Stabilization, and the Striving Readers program, which was a smaller program. The Education Stabilization, of course, was new, and it's required to be tested. And it probably will be tested again in the 22 year.
What page is that?
13.
13.
We're in the small book.
Right here.
I'm sorry.
The smaller book.
So from our detailed testing of those programs, on page 14, we had one finding, compliance finding, and that had to do with child nutrition. And when we tested the payroll, there was about half of the payroll that we tested that did not have a supervisor approval in the NovaTime system. And if you look on page 16 and 17, these were the findings from last year, from the 2020 year. And there were 3 findings in the prior year, and all of those findings have been reported as cleared. Any questions?
Okay, do we have a motion and a second for this financial report? Comprehensive annual financial report? Motion and a second?
I so move. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion from the board?
Mr. Hicks, I want to say one thing. There's a lot of work that goes into any type of audit, especially from Ms. Mikas's department and all of our special revenues, Title I, Title II, Special Ed, Title IV, all of those. And it is amazing how they're able to get all this stuff together, and we certainly appreciate the working relationship. Margie may bring in 8 or 10 auditors that are with us for anywhere from a week to 2 to 3 weeks at a time. And we're trying to be at your beck and call to get what you need in order for us to be able to get this audit done. But I certainly appreciate the job that our business department does in making sure that we have it there and ready for them when they come into audit. So, and thank y'all for the working relationship we have with you.
Just want to make one statement that.
Any more discussion from the board?
No, I was going to ask a question. Was there another time that we could, that as a board member, I could come in to discuss this?
Sure.
Was there a specific meeting? Finance meeting?
We can put it on the agenda for finance committee meeting.
Well, that's why I would like to just recommend maybe in the future, because it's such a comprehensive and it's a huge document that if there are questions, and that we would have a separate meeting from the board meeting to go over this, because it is a lot to digest in just 10 minutes.
We can do that.
That's just me.
Was there any issues that you had a concern on, Earl, that you wanted clarification on?
No, I just, it's so much, it was just too much for me to grasp, you know, and I've never been good in math. That's why I let Laura take care of it. I just thought maybe, you know, it would be a good idea, because it's so much, rather than in 10 minutes or 5 minutes, that we had more time in a separate meeting to just kind of delve into this.
I want to make sure I understand the flow too, Dr. Coker. Kind of correct me in conjunction with Harold pointing out here. Our CPA does their annual audit in conjunction with Ms. Mikas's department. And they review that with Ms. Mikas before they compile their final report to present to the board. And you're also in the loop on that, am I correct?
That is correct, along with all the directors from the different entities that are out there.
So this has been vetted by just about everybody in our board.
Yeah. But it can certainly be part of the finance committee. I mean, we can present it. Regina's very knowledgeable on this, can present it at a finance meeting when we have our committee meetings, just for further clarity or whatever, if you have questions. Yep.
Yeah, you know, like I said, you know, I appreciate having the opportunity to serve. I've served before, and I just think that even though it's been vetted by others, ultimately it's not accepted until the board says aye. And so as a board member, I like to be comfortable knowing that I'm saying aye to something that I've also had a chance to delve into, rather than, I don't know if I got this earlier.
I did email it out. It's been on our website since it was approved by the legislative auditor, and actually that's who gets the final say. It's submitted to the legislative auditor within the timeline that we have.
Okay.
We can't release it to anyone, even the board or the public, and as a finished report until the legislative auditor basically blesses it, as I say.
That's to my point.
Right. So
by the time we get it, I mean, it's just a suggestion moving forward.
Right.
Right.
So this has been approved by the legislative auditor?
Yes, it has.
Any more discussion from the board? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Mr. Mann, did we get any cards from item number 6, financial report of February 26, 2022?
No, sir, we did not, Mr. Hicks.
Okay. Ms. Mikas?
So this is basically just an update to bring us from June 30th all the way to February 28th. As we've gone along this year, what I do is I'm monitoring the budget. We adopted a balanced budget at the beginning of the year, and I monitor the budget each month as we go along to make sure that we're operating within the budget that we adopted, and I can say that we are. Currently, the ending fund balance for the general fund for the period ending January 28th, 2022 is $45,687,000. For District 1 M&O, which is the half-cent sales tax district-wide, it's $24,728,000. These are our main two operating funds, and these fund balances represent the money that it takes. If you look at our entire budget, $250 million, this is the money that it takes to operate a $250 million budget, that we have to have fund balance on hand in case sales tax revenues go down, or in case, say we're put on hold with a reimbursement of a federal program. This is money that we operate, that we meet payroll with, so that we're not holding up our operations, and we make sure that we're in a strong fiscal position to operate each month and to make sure our employees are paid, which is our main expenditure that we have in the district. Last month, I'd reported to you that we saw a little bit of a decrease in sales tax percentage-wise as compared to the prior years. Well, this year, it's not quite up to what it was prior to the drop. Last month, it had dropped to be about 4% increase from prior year. And if you remember, we were running 16% increase. So this year, it's gone up to 8%. So as we get into the spring, maybe we'll see some increases to go back up to where we were. But just a reminder, we are far above where we were, say, 3 years ago with our sales tax collections. With this unprecedented increase, and we're just being very mindful of that as we go forward, not to spend money that we don't have in hand and not to budget money that we're not 100% certain that we're going to bring in. So we're looking at the more we see this increase means the longer I go out when I'm looking at sales tax collections, I'm not just going to look at last year. I'm looking at 3, 4, 5 years back to make sure that when we budget those sales taxes that we have good solid numbers to go by. If you look at the last column on the first page, West Ouachita sales tax, I know as this number grows during the year, if you look under other sources and operating uses, there's a transfer out of $5.2 million. That money is, as is adopted by the resolution, goes directly into the debt service funds for West Ouachita to pay those bonds off in that West Ouachita district before we can spend any of those dollars. So as that number grows, I just wanted to point that out to you so you know exactly where that money's being transferred to, and you can see it going in those funds on the third page under debt service in that same area. As Dr. Coker said, we did a walk around Ebola this morning. If you look on the third page under 2019 storm damage and construction, you'll see that at the end of February we had about $54,000 left in that storm damage fund, which means after that, all of that insurance money is gone. What was agreed on when we started the Ebola construction is that the remainder would come out of the West Ouachita sales tax fund, and we're already into that now, being in April, but in the end of February, you can see that we had about $54,000 left to go as we're entering in those last few months of construction on the rebuild of Foley. And then, of course, the last 2 pages gives you a good 3-year reference to revenues, expenditures, and fund balances with the general fund and the M&O fund. Do you want to have any questions?
Do we have a motion and a second to approve the financial report for February 28, 2022?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion from the board?
Regina, I'm glad to see we finally zeroed out the 2015 Eastside bond money.
Me too.
Not me. I'm gonna spend some.
Any more discussion from the board? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Mr. Mann, do we have any cards on item number 7? Consider ITEP Industrial Tax Exemption Program Agreement, Ms. Meekus.
No, sir, Mr. Hicks, we do not.
Okay.
I know each year, periodically, I come to you with Louisiana Economic Development requests that we receive, basically entities seeking the industrial tax exemption. This is a little bit different. It is, we've been put on notice by the Louisiana Economic Development District that there was a company in non-compliance. I have forwarded you the information. I want to give you time prior to the meeting to be able to read the letter and the company's response for non-compliance. This is for Neighbors LLC. It's a tax exemption that they had applied for and received in the 2020 year. And I had a lot of questions whenever I read through this application, because non-compliance is typically something we don't deal with, but I think the letter sums it up pretty well. And as always with the tax exemption items, with the industrial tax exemption items, you can take no action, you can approve, or you can reject, and that approval, rejection, or no item will go to Louisiana Economic Development, who will make the final decision on the tax exemption.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the consideration of ITEP industrial tax exemption. Take no position. Or motion and a second to take no position?
No, it's one of the three.
One of the three.
I got a question before.
Thank you. I have a
I
question.
got a question before we make a motion and talk about it a little bit. I know the main issue here from what I'm reading, Regina, is they had promised to fill 10 new job positions. They were unable to fill those job positions. Do we have verification of that through the information we received, or we're just taking their word for it, or how's that work?
Everything that they do goes through the Louisiana Economic Development, and I received this straight from Louisiana Economic Development with the letter attached. And the way, I'm looking at it, and I know the issues that we had during COVID. This is the period that they're in non-compliance is the 2020 year, basically when everything shut down. So keeping that in mind, and I'm not advocating, I have no dog in this fight, not advocating one way or another, but when I read it, I see that they actually created the 10 new positions, but were unable to fill them during that time.
And the Louisiana Economic Development Department has verified that? Or do we know who verified that, or?
Basically, the Louisiana they report to Louisiana Economic Development.
So they verified it, or do we know?
Well, they reported that they were not in compliance.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well, I guess my question is, they said they were unable to fill 10 new positions.
correct.
Do we have verification of the positions that they tried to fill, what the job descriptions were, or what they were trying to do, or salaries, or anything along that lines? Or is that something that we have privy to having that information on?
We don't have privy to that information. They agreed to create 10 new positions with a total payroll of $300,000. The way I read the agreement, they could have 10 positions at $30,000, or they could have one at 200 and 10 at 10. I mean, at 9 at 11.
Regardless of whether we vote yes, no, or not,
Yeah.
the process is going to be the same. It's still going to the next level for their decision.
Right. Basically, whether you vote yes, no, or no action, that is basically a recommendation that goes back to the Louisiana Economic Development. If you vote yes, they're not automatically approved. If you vote no, they're not automatically denied. This is just a recommendation by the board to the Louisiana Economic Development organization on how you would like to see them proceed.
Regina, this is for a 10-year period. Is that correct? From the time we go into ITEP?
Typically, yes.
It's usually a 10-year period.
10-year period.
And so does the Economic Development State Board watch each of these each year?
Yes.
So if the board took no action, it would give this company, if it's located in West Monroe, another year to try to bring the standards back up to where they had actually filed for their exemption status. And if they do not get it, then it would be brought back to the board again?
Right. If say they have another year to get in compliance, this is going to be reported to Louisiana Economic Development, who would in turn report it to us each year. So this is not a one-time check. This is not a final year or a first year. This is checked each year with these tax exemptions as they go along.
You know, listen to what you just described, and of course, listen to Dr. Coker. I think that it's only fair and rational to understand that during the 20-year that many companies were struggling to find employees. As a matter of fact, we heard a presentation today about the difficulty in even finding teachers, classified and certified individuals to work in our district. So I would be of a mind, to take no position based on that, because as you before stated, it will come back to us again next year if they're not in compliance. And
Right.
it would at least give them an opportunity to go back and try to recoup that 1 year to get into compliance.
Right, and as I said earlier, we don't see a lot of non-compliance reports because majority of the time when they make the agreement, but when you look at the time that they made the agreement, I would have a tough time saying they should have, or they should have been able to when we ourselves were struggling to fill positions.
Yes, right. And that's my position as well.
Yeah.
Does the police jury have any vote in this too, or we're the only governing body that gets involved on this tax exemption?
No, it would be any taxing body within
So the police jury will be addressing this also?
police jury, if they pay taxes to Monroe City schools, whatever taxing bodies that they fall under.
And this is our first, since ITEP came into being, where it came to all of the government entities, this is the first non-compliance that we've ever seen. And it does have extenuating circumstances, and I would certainly advise and agree with what Reverend McCoy is saying.
I would move that we take no action, no position
Okay.
at this time.
We got a motion to take no action. We got a second?
Second.
Okay. Any more questions from the board? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Opposed, no? Motion carries.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Manning, do we have a card on consideration of policies? Ms. Jennifer Nugent, we have a card on that.
No, sir, Mr. Hicks, we do not.
Okay.
Hey, good afternoon, Board. If you will open up your policy folder. You should see that there are two policies there that I'm bringing this afternoon for your consideration. The first one, you'll see the short description. It says that we're adding in some wording there into that policy. And the policy underneath that, I'm asking for your consideration to delete that policy because it is no longer relevant. And then I will bring both of these policies back to the next board meeting for your approval.
Just as some clarification on this also, the very first policy, the public school choice policy, is one that is having to be changed because of the 2021 legislative session. And in that legislative session, it brought it to all school boards, and we're really not behind the game here, but we are, because we never got any notification from LDOE, Bessie, or anyone as to what we needed to do on this particular policy. What it says is you have to identify, and this is mostly for our choice schools, that's what it's for, but you have to identify within the policy, and you can see the new in purple there that you'll have time to look at and kind of go over the next month before we actually vote on this. But it is saying that you have to define capacity. What is capacity in your schools? And so Mr. Geis, Mr. Killian, Ms. Bobo, these are the ones who deal and work with our choice schools. And we have always had a unwritten rule on how we have done choice, but now we've actually put it in writing to address the concerns of the legislature back in 2021. So that is the difference between the choice policy. And this is not to be voted on today, but certainly if you have any questions, we'll try to entertain those.
These will be posted on the website?
Yes.
Thank you. Dr. Coker, I think a couple board meetings ago, we talked about maybe some obsolete policies that we had on the books, and you were gonna try to get involved on maybe delete those from our policy and procedure manual. Are we working on
You
that?
see one right there before you today.
That's the first of many, probably?
That is. Well, it's the first that we have found and that has been brought to our attention by Noel Prescott.
And then we did address some about a month or two ago.
With some revisions, which we will be bringing back to the board for additional vote again also. These are the ones that you had some questions on for clarification.
Yes.
They've been resubmitted and would be good if we could bring them back so that they can look again. And then that may be June before, which is not that, these are not that pressing that it's gonna interfere with what we're doing, but bring them back in May for review and then June for vote on for the other ones. Yes. And get ready, because every time you finish a legislative session, you're gonna have more laws that are coming in. And so the policies are written based on the laws that are passed.
Yep.
And so that's where, that's where boards always have the ability to do a little tweaking, but you can't go against what anything was written as the law within the policies as it was intended.
Correct. Well, I just want to.
Okay.
At
We
this
don't need to
point,
vote on that.
Boy saying something.
I just want to commend you all for at least delving into this and trying to keep it up to date as much as possible, because I know it is fluid, very fluid, changing all the time.
Y'all, our policy manual's this thick. It is so many different policies, and it's a living animal, and it changes, and we're trying to keep up with the changes as they come about.
Yeah. I'm still trying to arrange my office where I got space for that policy and procedure manual. It's about that thick.
Yeah.
I'll be sending you some more.
Thank you.
That's great, thanks.
Mr. Manley, item number 9, we have a card for the request to address the board.
Yes, sir, we have a
Bonds.
request. We have a request by Mr. Byron McCoy. Mr. McCoy, you'll be able to address the board up to 3 minutes after Ms. Ross gets through with her presentation. I would like to say too, I know this new procedure and policy and is something that we're implementing at last meeting and we're going through, but it's not the board's intent to limit public participation in any way. We're just trying to get some structure and some organization on it so we can be aware of who would like to say what regarding what topic. Okay, so that's the whole purpose of this card process. So in the future, if you're here at the meeting and you would like to address the board, please fill out this card before the meeting starts, and you will be put on the agenda, reference that particular item, and we'll have 3 minutes to address the board regarding that particular item. So just want to make sure everybody kind of understands.
What if we're not sure that we want to comment on that yet until somebody has came up and spoke about it? I didn't fill out a card on one of the topics while ago.
No, you're already you're on the agenda already.
Right, but I'm just for future. So we just need to go
Fill
ahead
it out
and
if you don't
fill
wanna
out
talk.
one for every one of them just in case we want to speak on it. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to fill out a card, and your topic will be regarding the particular item on the agenda. Okay, you won't be able to get up and talk about anything you want to talk about. It will be regarding the particular item that is up for discussion topic on the agenda at that time.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
What'd she say?
So you just need to fill one out and say, I would like to speak openly regarding any matter that I feel threatened.
No, you'll have to specifically fill this card out. I'd recommend you get one of these cards and look it over. And on the particular bottom of it, it says, indicate agenda item to be addressed. Okay, so you'll need to specifically indicate what agenda item you would like to talk about, and your specific discussion points will be in regards to that particular item.
Yeah, but like she said, what if we didn't know we wanted to speak on it until we were here and heard and saw what
You don't get to speak.
Because people do not have access to y'all agenda. People do not know what's going on in these school board meetings until they're
I think the agenda is posted outside the school board office. Yeah, right outside the room. When you come in, there's an agenda posted out there
Mr. President.
that we go by.
Mr. President.
Yeah, it's on the website too, so everybody should be aware of what the agenda.
Mr. President.
Yeah.
Mr. President, I call for a point of, I call for a point of order. I call for a point of order.
And I'm just trying to be flexible, and we're trying to let the public understand our policy and procedures as far as what we're going forward on, okay? And I understand Harold's request for a point of order, but going forward, this is the policy we will be adhering to going forward. So Ms. Ross, go ahead with your presentation.
Hi, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Caitlin Ross. I'm a parent of this community. My son, Cooper Cameron, has came with me today since I had to withdraw him from school because of the neglect he was experiencing and the lack of effort to help come to a understanding of what was going on at his school. So I have some papers here that I would like to pass out to each of y'all.
Ms. Ross, now your topic, according to this agenda, unless I'm mistaken, is surety bonds.
I have your surety bond right here.
Okay.
Here. You don't get one.
In this packet, you will find, this is a list of my intentions. And my intention is to file a claim against your school liability insurance policy. It seems that all of you have failed to uphold your oath of office, which you signed saying you would. So I have given each of you a copy so that you can look over it and be aware of what's going on and what your attorney might not have advised you about. So I would like for y'all to come back in compliance with the Constitution, which you had failed. My children have been abused and neglected at your schools, but you don't have kids at the school, so you're not firsthand, you don't understand that. You've been dishonest with me and with this community, and I'm going to file a claim against that if we cannot come to an understanding and fix some of these policies that you have that are causing harm to my son. And so if you have any questions for me, you can go ahead. In there's a list of the demands, and this was just some of them because the list is so long of the violations that y'all have done that I couldn't put everything on there. So this is just most of them. If you have any questions, let me know. The packet contains everything that you need to know. It tells you about the surety bonds and everything. So you should be fully informed and aware. And if there's anything y'all need to ask me, go ahead.
Only thing I'd like to ask is our attorney to look that information over, if you will, Elmer, and let us know.
Do you have an extra packet?
I don't, but I can get you one.
Thank you. Thank you. Be glad to look at it.
I can send you one.
I have one.
Okay, but I need for him to have one and you to have one. So
I can make a copy.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. McCoy?
Mr. McCoy.
Huh? Sir?
Oh, we got 3 minutes.
Oh, Byron McCoy. Harold, you can be next.
With the motion.
Hey, I approach you today. My name is Byron McCoy, and that's lowercase Byron McCoy. I have taken dominion over land, sea, and air, as Genesis 1:26 says. So I've claimed my state national status. So therefore, your 3-minute timer and your card, I do appreciate those, and I'd like to show a little bit of respect, but they do not pertain to me. I'll be really quick, so I probably won't even take 3 minutes. But I just want to tell y'all a quick story. In 1953, there was a lady by the name of Jane Spalding who President Eisenhower got to go around to all 50 states and put them on standardized testing. Said that one kid moving from Los Angeles to New York would be on the same thing. It was awesome. She got the 50th state to sign up. She was made head of the Department of Education. 49 days later, she got fired, and Nelson Rockefeller took her place. At his induction ceremony, they're taking pictures, and I asked him, they said, "How much did you make last year?" He said, $140 million. I said, "Well, how much did you pay in taxes?" Reached in his pocket, pulled out a penny, and flipped it. He said, "Not a single red cent." They said, "Well, why would you take a job for $39,000 as the head of the Department of Education?" He said, "Because I believe it's the most important job in the United States, even more important than the president." And they were like, "Why?" He said, "Because in 10 years, I can change the minds and the direction of our world." And lo and behold, he did that. He did it. By 1961, every textbook in America had been changed. And that leads me to one other thing that I want to share with you. There's a history teacher who taught for over 30 years. And a few years ago, he met a man at a debate who had some things to say about Abraham Lincoln he didn't like. He told him Abe wasn't honest, and he didn't free the slaves. And the man, they debated about it for many, many, many months. And finally, he told him, he said, "Go find a textbook pre-1908. And when you find it, call me back." So 6, 7 months later, he finally found the textbook, found 2 of them. When he went to those 2 textbooks, he realized everything he had been teaching for the last 30 years was an absolute lie. And the man is still going through therapy for it. So I come before you today to ask, are we here to continue the education? Or are we here to make changes? Thank you for hearing me out. You'll have a great day.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Moving down to item number 10. You have a card to address the construction renovations.
No, sir, Mr. Hicks, we do not.
Okay. Construction renovation project report, Mr. Ken Slusher.
You heard we had a meeting this morning at Bowling. For 9 o'clock. A lot of you were there, some of you missed it. Things are still going real well. There's some things that they need to work on, like flooring in the classrooms, but they're starting to work on the parking lot, and they're putting the ceilings in the classrooms according to the colors. I think the completion date now, if I heard right, was about the middle of May, and we're hoping they could get through the middle of May, and we could get our teachers in the classrooms when school was out. At West Ouachita, they're moving along real good finally. They've got most of the walls up and everything in the new classrooms, the counselor's office, all that. We have a meeting out there next Tuesday morning, if any of you would be interested in coming. And on our new Sterleton Middle School, they've got the pad poured on just about every classroom and administrative area. They'll start next week putting up, forming it up to lay the concrete. So in that short time, they've made a lot of headway. That's all I have, Mr. Hicks, unless somebody has a question.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Ken?
9 o'clock next Tuesday, West Washington.
9 o'clock Tuesday, next Tuesday.
Sounds like they're ahead of schedule on the Sterleton Middle School too, huh, Mr. Slusher? Sounds
I'm
like
sorry?
they're ahead of the schedule on Sterleton Middle School. Is that?
Yes, we have, but we don't have a meeting in April. It'll be May, and it's the first Wednesday of every month at 1:30.
Okay.
In the afternoon.
1:30?
1:30. I'll let you all know before our first meeting out there in May.
Any more questions for Ken? Moving to item number 10, evaluation of bids.
Mr. Hicks, I'd like to take 2 and 3, and
okay.
let Mr. Wong take 1 and 4, if that's all right. Bid number, what is that, 4022, the bathroom renovations at Riser. I recommend the low bid of Man Construction, which was $498,000, plus the 25. That 25 is, we got 2 bathrooms that were once on the outside, and we enclosed them, put them on the inside. But the 25,000 is the air and heat, those 2 sets of bathrooms.
Excuse me just a minute, Mr. Hicks. Also on the funding source there, that should not be ESSER funded, is that correct, Clint? That should be West Side sales tax funded on that particular project. Bathroom remodel, Riser Elementary is West Side sales tax.
If it was ESSER funds, we're gonna have some more
I
discussion.
knew you was looking at it already.
We done looked at it. They both already brought to my attention.
And
Looking at it too.
Okay, Ken, you want to take both of them or just one at
No,
a
sir,
time?
just one at a time.
Okay, all right. We need a motion and a second on the bathroom remodeling at Riser.
I move we accept the bid of Man Construction for the construction of the bathrooms at Riser remodel.
And I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion from the board? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
On the Pinecrest Canopy addition, I recommend reject that bid because it's so far over budget.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to eject this bid at Pinecrest.
I move we
Yep.
reject the bid due to being over budget.
And I'll second.
Got a motion second. Any discussion from the board?
Ken, I was just wondering, and this is just a discussion topic. I know and I'm not real familiar with what the Pinecrest Canopy addition entails, Scotty. I know you probably do, but it looks like we've got general contractors here bidding on a canopy. I mean, I know we got people that actually do canopy, like specialty contractors that do canopies. Did we not seek a bid from them, or how does that flow? Or I know we got several people in town that do canopies. Seem like they might be able to, a general contractor is gonna have some overhead and profit after he hires a canopy contractor.
Well,
I just mentioned that for discussion purposes. It
these
seems like a lot of money.
canopies
It's over our budget.
These canopies were designed with the height of a bus or garbage truck or anything could go under them.
Big deal.
And they're right in the front of the school. They were well advertised, and we only got 2 bids on it. The same thing with Riser bathrooms. But they were well advertised also, and we only had 2 bids on them.
I just can't believe, of course, I'm not a construction expert, but I just can't believe today's economy and the way people need in business and work that some of these canopy contractors didn't bid on it, unless it was over their capability.
I think a lot of our problem right now is supplies, being able to get the supplies and the time it may take in order to order them and then to get them in. And that is discouraging a lot of folks from putting bids in on various
This was also time sensitive, trying to get it done in the summer when school was out.
Right, like Dr. Coker said, and then Scotty, it was time sensitive because the job had to be completed during the summer. There was some question about them getting supplies.
Yeah, usually when you throw time sensitive in, the price goes up.
It's basically 50% over budget.
That may be why it's so high over budget.
Yeah.
Okay, well, do we have a motion and a second for Pinecrest?
Reject the bid.
Reject the bid, I'm sorry.
We did.
We got it.
Okay.
We haven't voted on it.
All right, any more discussion? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks.
Okay.
Right, Dr. Coker and board members, you have the tab sheets for the copy paper bid 4222, and the only company that bid on plain everyday white copy paper. Each one of the ones that we did replied to that, but most of them did not reply in any other area other than the common everyday Verdative is 30 cents lower than they are on contract. We do have to buy it by truckload. We do have to buy it by 2 truckloads to get the price that we're at. What we are finding when it comes to color paper is most of them are $70 a case more than they've ever been before.
Wow.
So we are not actively looking. We are talking to warehouse. We're talking to graphic arts. We're getting inventories together to find out exactly what we must have at the moment versus buying a year's worth at the time. So we've got several things. The only thing that we'll act on as far as right now, hurriedly, is 2 truckloads of copy paper that we use all the time, which is in that bid sheet. The second one that I brought to you is the Hvac Chillers, and Mr. Hempfield's here with me. If we have any questions, we did award this bid back in October, and the company that got it, Mechanics Cooling System, cannot get the parts for Lakeshore, cannot get the machines for Lakeshore or Swartz Lower. They're not expecting them until May the 20th, and the cutoff date was April the 15th. The contract had a liquidated damages clause in it for $150 a day for every day they did not meet the deadline. This is, as all of us know, supply shortages. This is not something that we felt, nor the vendor, was at their fault, and we are asking the board to give them until June the 15th, so we did not have to go back and start the process over again. So we want to extend that liquidated clause to June the 15th.
Okay. So what we actually going to bid on is the copy paper. That's it. That's
Yes, sir, and the chiller. We do need for y'all to approve for us to extend it to June the 15th.
well. It doesn't have a mount on that chiller.
It's already been done and agreed on. The money doesn't change. It's
Okay.
only voting on timeline.
I just want a clarification.
Yes.
Okay.
2 separate motions?
Yes.
You need to.
Are we bid on items number 1 and 4?
Correct.
Okay. We have a motion to accept items number 1 and 4.
I so move with accept items 1 and 4.
I think
What?
we need to vote on
Two motions?
Two different.
Yeah, we need on copy paper first and the chiller second, I would think.
Okay. All right. Item number 1, copy paper. Do we have a motion and a second?
Yep, so moved. We'll accept the bid, copy paper.
Second.
All right.
Second.
Any discussion from the board? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item number 4, chiller equipment. Need a motion and a second?
I make a motion, we'll extend the warranty to June 15th.
Yes. Well, you said June 15th.
Correct.
And that price is locked in? Is that what you're telling us?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any discussion from the board?
We get a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Moving down to permission to bid, items 1, 2, 3. You want to do all them together?
Yes, sir, and I'll speak to all 3 of them. The first one, the water bottle filling stations, this is an ongoing conversation with Clint and Steve and I because they are in very much short supply, and the vendors we're talking to are saying they're not going to be able to produce them for at least a year. And then we also have issues as far as not having the necessary electrical wiring to manage these systems and run them the way they're supposed to do and into code. So we've got a lot of things that we need to discuss, as well as get with our principals, because it has been discussed we may not do every water cooler in every school because of the amount of money that this is going to take. Monroe City just did it. We spoke to them, and they told us it was $5,000 per unit to get it there. The units themselves are $450. So we're trying to figure out exactly what we have to do and what can we source out as far as our people doing and exactly how many we're going to need. But we do need to move on it because it is an ESSER fund related, and we need to try to be able to book that in the timeline necessary. The other one is the floor renovations.
Let's talk about this water bottle filling station first. I've had some parent call me on that, and of course, right now, bring me up to date, Clint, on how Dr. Cover, how we're handling the water at schools. I know the children are bringing their water to schools themselves, and we've shut down all the water fountains. Is that correct?
And some schools have the water filling stations already.
Oh, we do?
That they have, yes.
Okay, how many schools do we have that have water?
I'm not sure, Stephen.
Okay. Okay. Now, how many bottle fillers or how many bottle filling stations are we anticipating having at each school to accommodate the students? Do you have any idea? Huh?
Over 300.
At 36 schools?
Total.
Yeah, 36 schools, yeah, okay. Okay, so you'll have about,
That was to replace every existing water fountain with a water bottle.
and basically the way that I operate is the student will bring their own bottle and they will fill it up at the station and then they'll fill it.
They're a touchless, so if they sense motion, they sense the bottle under it and dispense the water, so that nobody's touching it.
Except the student, and then fills the bottle up and then the next student, okay.
Where does the water come from?
The water source. It is a filtered system, but it comes from whatever source.
What type of a filtering system is it?
Couldn't tell you.
Is it reverse osmosis? Is it just?
There are filters that have to be
I'm just,
replaced.
the reason I'm asking that because $4,000 per unit, you would think that it has to be reverse osmosis. How often do we have to change the filters? How long do the filters last for those? And then how much do the filters cost? What's going to be the amount to retain those, to maintain those? I mean, because it's not just a one-time $4,000 for this unit. Now you got to deal with the filters. But if it's reverse osmosis, then you probably don't have that problem with filters. I'm just thinking ahead.
Drinking fountains themselves doesn't have filters on.
Correct.
Bottle fillers were put in to be touchless. There wasn't no concern about the filter system. They do have filter systems, but that's something that cost that we will have to do continuously if we, they cover the filter when they get to a point, a red light will come on, and then the filter needs to change.
But we don't know how often though, right?
They'll probably last 6 months with one filter.
How much are those filters?
And it'd be based on the volume that went through. Certainly high schoolers would be more, middle schoolers, and less than the elementary.
On the ones that y'all changed, Stephen, do they have filters on them? Right. Right.
$650 a piece?
So these new units is $4,000 a piece. I'm assuming we'll take the old water fountain out.
These new units don't cost $4,000 a piece. That's what it's gonna cost for electricity and all. The unit itself is a lot cheaper.
Okay, but we will take the current water fountain out and replace it with this new unit. So basically, you're gonna be replacing whatever water, how many water fountains you have in your school will have the new bottle filling station.
What did you say they cost? About 400 a piece?
The machines themselves, yes. The
$400
devices
a piece.
themselves.
400.
But installed, they're $4,000.
They'll tell you when to wire and everything else to them.
Which will be ESSER funds totally, right, Clint?
That's what we were looking at. Now, originally, I don't think we budgeted $4,000 a piece, so we're looking at what our options are, is kind of where we're at, and trying to see, do we need to drop down to a lower number of these? Do we need to change the plan altogether? What exactly do we need? But until we see truly what it is going to cost, we're just going by what some people are telling us, so we're kind of stuck in the middle of trying to figure this out.
And this will give us an opportunity to reach out and try and get prices that we can nail down.
Again, that's just me. I'm not very comfortable right now with what I'm hearing and the cost. It may not cost that much, but I would like to have personally more information, and then maybe check to see, because if the system is only $450, but on here it's saying $4,000 per unit, I don't know why connection and all that stuff was costing $3,600. That's
Most time you wire the conduit, you gotta run the wire, you gotta go find a breaker box to hook it up to the breaker. The wire alone is gonna cost you $1,000. Mhm.
And I'm thinking, at this point in time, the way I'm understanding, we're just getting permission to bid, to open this thing up, to get some tentative cost associated with this, so the board can come back and make a final decision once y'all get a definitive cost. Is that correct?
Correct. All of that will be brought back to you, Mr. McCoy, that y'all can look at the prices, you can see, and then you okay the direction we go after that, or you don't okay it, whichever direction.
okay. So you're going to be looking at more than just one type of a unit, maybe.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, the
Well,
next item.
One other question, Dr. Cogan. I hate to, but I had some parents call me on this water issue. And, in the past, before COVID hit, the school was supplying the water fountains. And then right after COVID hit, the school bought cases of water and furnished water at the school. Somewhere down the line, the schools quit furnishing the water and asked the parents and the student to bring the water to the school. So that's where we're at now. We're asking the parents and the students to bring the water that they're going to drink, which I understand that, but it seems like we've got ESSER funds available that, and I'm not sure Clint might be able to address this too. Why don't we use some ESSER funds to supply water until we can get these water bottle filling stations taken care of?
I'm not sure we could find that many bottles of water that's available
So
that's
it's
out
not
there.
available? I mean,
That you can't. We kept our warehouse stocked really well. It's down to nothing because you just can't. I mean, if you're looking at 18,000 kids a day,
3 times a day.
you're looking at a lot of water.
Apparently,
So I think
parents
part
are
of it.
finding it. The parents are letting the kid bring the bottled water.
Well,
So the parents are locating the water.
I mean, that's a Jason question. I don't see Jason here today, but
That's gonna be one of those things that the logistics side of it is gonna be the tough part of, do we have room to store enough bottles of water to handle, can we get them, if somebody buys them, do we have somewhere to actually?
right, and we would have to make sure that ESSER would cover the cost too, which means we can do that. That's not a hard thing to do.
What is it? Okay.
But I do know at one time Jason was having a hard time getting truckloads of water in, and then you have your storage area that you have to store it. We were sending it out to schools as quickly as we could as they were needing it to.
I just haven't had any parents to contact me personally about their kids having to bring water. I'm sorry, I was interrupted while I was speaking. I have not had any parents to call me personally about their kids bringing water. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. And so I would assume y'all would take a look at it and see if you can.
Yeah, we can.
Mr. Hicks, you still want to move to collectively, or you want to do one at a time?
Whatever you, yeah, we can do them one at a time.
Okay, the next one is the floor renovations for 8 of the schools. Most of these are libraries. One of them is a computer lab, and the maintenance and construction crew are talking to these individual schools and visiting with their principals, and you've got prices here based on if the principal's choosing carpet squares or if they're choosing vinyl. And so that's what that items are, and they're only for a limited number of the schools. The second one is the wood chips, and Jason has spoke to several of the schools. At the moment, only 8 schools are asking. but he is in contact with them still, trying to make sure if they do or do not need before we put this bid out. But it would be for as many as 14, but could be less.
Okay. Okay, do we have a motion and a second to accept?
Do you know how many schools get this flooring? What schools there are? What they are?
Actually, if I could add to that. So when we started the process with the ESSER funding and budgeting those funds, we identified all of the carpet, as hard to imagine that is. We identified all of the rooms in the district that had carpet and did an estimated square footage. And that's what we're looking at the first stages, because the square footage is not that we can do it all in 1 year. So this is just the first stage that we would go out, and where we can, we're replacing it with the LVT or VCT. But there are some places, such as libraries with smaller kids, and that it's just better to do the carpet squares. So the idea is to improve the air quality by taking out that old carpet, putting in new hard flooring that could be mopped, or in cases where we need carpet, putting down the carpet squares. So if it does happen to get stained or whatever, that we could pull it up and replace it.
Right, and I know y'all are all familiar with the carpet squares, the fact that you can pull, if one is stained, you can pull one up and replace it with one. You don't have to tear the whole floor up.
Can we visit? Seems like I'm having a lot of discussion topics today, but the wood chip situation has come up in the past, and I know Sterlington Elementary, where my granddaughter goes, the playground was shut down because, for safety purposes, we didn't have enough chips out there on the playground to provide the necessary safety for that school. So the playground was shut down, and that was a couple of years ago. So I visited with Mr. Jones, and he said, well, the state comes out, they inspect these playgrounds, and they approve the playground based on what they visually see on the chips, or they don't approve the playground. So my question is, we've got 14 elementary playgrounds here. We got 8 so far that's requested chips. Has the state went out and inspected each one of these schools and made a determination exactly which schools are going to need additional chips, or where are we at on that?
I would not know the answer to that one yet. I will get the answer. I know that Jason has been in contact with the schools, so I would think that he's had a conversation with the principals, and they're saying, yes, we need, or no, we don't need, based on that inspection. But we will find. We know only 8 has asked for it right now.
And the reason I bring that up, I don't want to get in a situation, Dr. Coker, where we order for 8 schools, and all of a sudden the state comes up and looks at these other 6 and says, oh, by the way, you need chips too. And then they can't get chips or hadn't got chips, and then we shut the playground down.
Can I add to that also? You're putting my man on the spot today, Mr. Handler.
Well, Ms. Mucus, I'll address you that question then.
I'm just joking. But, okay, so the building supervisors at the school, the guidelines are clear. It's no mystery to how many chips you're supposed to have, how many inches of wood chips you're supposed to have, how wide around the playground equipment that you're supposed to have those.
So the state's provided that principals that information?
Right. Well, they provide it to the district. It's published. So they have the guidelines, and it's up to the building supervisor or whoever the principal so assigns to determine if they need wood chips. When we order wood chips, we have it delivered to the school in a nice, neat pile. They put it wherever they need it. So they contact us if they determine we don't have the manpower to send out to every school to see who might need wood chips around which swing set.
Well, you've answered part of my question, because I knew the state had the authority and the inspection power to come out and inspect playgrounds for safety purposes. And in the past, they have shut down playgrounds. Right. But apparently the schools now have the playground guidelines on the amount of chips that should be in each.
There's extensive guidelines on playground safety. And also our insurance company comes in, they send out a representative that does spot inspections on our facilities, not just playgrounds, but buildings, sidewalks, grounds, that they kind of do a walkthrough and help us see things that need to be repaired, or maybe in the case of state playground or playground equipment, they try to make sure that we're aware if they see any issues while they're on site.
And Wayne, I apologize if you felt like I put you on the spot and I was just trying to gather information, but in the future, I'll make sure Ms. Mikas answers the tough questions.
It's a learning.
No.
But we will ensure that those who are not in compliance are the ones that are given the opportunity to have these chips.
Perfect.
Could you just do me a favor?
Yes,
'Cause
sir.
You didn't name the schools, the 8 schools. Could you just send me a list of the 8 schools?
I
Text
sure will.
or
I will.
email?
I will get that from Jason and email you.
We have a motion and a second for these 3 items put out to bid here.
I move we grant permission to bid these 3 items.
I'll second.
Any more discussion from the board?
No.
All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Opposed, no? Motion carries.
I can't blame nobody else.
Board, our next meeting will be May the 10th at 12 o'clock. And I guess each one of y'all have this personal financial disclosure statement due by May the 15th. So if y'all didn't get that, you got to have that disclosure in by May the 15th. Or somebody will come knock on your door, I imagine. Coker?
Thank you, Mr. Hicks. Just a reminder, we have graduation week, the week of May 9th through the 12th. On the 9th, we have Sterlington High School graduating at 6 o'clock, West Ouachita graduating at 7:30. On Tuesday, the 10th, Ouachita graduates at 7. On Wednesday, the 11th of May, Richwood High School graduates at 6 o'clock. That originally was 7, and she has changed that to 6. So make a note on that if you would. And then, excuse me?
Where would Richwoods?
Wednesday, the 11th at 6 o'clock.
Where?
All of these are at the stadium except for Sterlington High School.
Doc, did the principals make that decision on the stadium
Yes.
facilities?
Yes.
Was it COVID related or just something they felt?
They
was better?
liked it. They liked
liked it?
using that, and they were still, we've not talked back with ULM as far as their graduations. And so for this year, we're going to go the stadium route.
What about Sterlington? Where?
They're going to be graduating at
North Monroe.
North Monroe. Yes.
That's y'all church? Great.
And then West Monroe High School will graduate on May the 12th at 7 o'clock. And I would certainly just ask you to keep Dr. Bob Weber and Janice in your prayers at the loss of their daughter this week. That's all I have, Mr. Mills.
I have a motion to adjourn. Meeting adjourned.